Hello, my lovelies. So today I have decided it is time to go English because I know the jump that can happen from me touching people's souls from an Afrikaans podcast to an English podcast. And I also know that that whole miracle with the power of tongues, speaking in different languages, understanding where people will listen to you and they'll understand, irrespective of your very strong Afrikaans accent, because that's just the beautiful God that we serve. He has got so many cosmic jokes up his sleeve. Where he would plant me, he would place me here in Pretoria, one of the most Afrikaans places, little corners of the country. It is so Afrikaans, it actually became world famous about 6 months ago with the four little men that went to America, to Trump, to click, to telltale on how bad things are here in South Africa. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know me, that act ignited something so deep within me. This holy anger, fury, rage of anger. Like literally, there was like this holy war inside me. There was this one lady, I think it was Rachel, that was married. She was married as well, but she was pregnant in the Bible. Please don't fall, please don't fall. There was this one lady in the Bible that she also said she was pregnant with these twins, but these twins were so busy in her tummy, it felt like there was a war inside her womb. And that's literally what ignited with me, because it was as if in that moment I could see all the consequences that this act has done. It has literally like ignited to me, to my soul. It felt like an atom bomb exploding in the rassemalligheid, the race craziness, the race psychoticness here in South Africa. And not only in South Africa, it is international. Racism is alive and well. And these four boys in ignorance doing that. And this morning, Trump and Ramaphosa's actually meeting. I had a sleepless night 2 nights ago about this meeting. So you can pray with me. I believe in the prayers. Even after something's happened, there's enough scientific evidence to say that if we pray now for something that happened 10 years ago, we can still influence the past. If you don't know about that, go and do some research on Joe Dispenza. Oh, nowadays with ChatGPT, it's so easy. I'm sure if you just type it in, can I influence prayers? Can my prayers influence the past? Answered in the way of Joe Dispenza. I'm sure you'll get all the information. But yeah, there was an Israeli study in a hospital that was referenced. And there was another study where they also prayed for the past, and then the past changed. But in any case, so what I prayed for South Africa is there is the Stellenbosch choir, the Stellenbosch University choir, directed by your guys. That guy is an angelic guy. If you watch that video, I've got that video downloaded, and if you can't find it, just send me a message. Find me on Facebook, on Instagram, Bet-Seber, and I'll send you the link. Or I'll send you the video, not the link. So there's this flash mob that occurred round about 2023, I would say, or 2022. there was no masks. So I think it was 2023. But in any case, masks during the COVID, I believe that I don't say masks, correct, masks. I don't know, like the facial masks that we used to wear. I can remember when I was diving in the Bahamas, the guys there, the dive masters, they had such a laugh at the way that I say it. And for me, it sounds right. I've been chuckling with God for the past week so much. I'm like, I've always battled to say the word variable. You don't know how long that took my brain to find that part. Like, it doesn't make sense. The spelling, phonetically, it doesn't make sense for an Afrikaans thinking girl. But in any case, so may the Lord bless you your ears, that my voice, that my very strong Afrikaans accent is not a disruption for the message. Let's just start there. So, back to the flash mob. So, in this aeroplane, and you guys, that is a piece of art. We need to speak about that more than Beyonce. I must really say that, because really, who cares if a royal person, an ex-royal person, is actually an exile, Prince Harry, attended your concert? Does the world really need to know that? But in any case, so back to this airplane flash mob. Andre van der Merwe is his name. It's another Andre. For international listeners, one of our South Africa's biggest problems, crime is bigger, and that's still unresolved. But I would say the second or the third, no, the second, because if the electricity is fixed, help me guys, then the economy will fall in line. So our second biggest problem here in South Africa was there was too little power, electricity for the country. And it was it's a story about mafias and corruptions. If Hollywood picks up on the Eskom scandal, it would definitely be a bigger movie than the Oppenheimer movie. Let's just say that, off of my mind. And the savior, and that's the beautiful soul and the spirit of Africa, guys, that people don't realize. Spirituality is not an option for us. It's it's part of our lifeline. It's part of our DNA. It's woven, it's integrated. It is oxygen for us. And I've realized for the rest of the world, spirituality, because their world is so perfect, I say between massive air quotes, but if you stay in a country like New Zealand where you don't fear daily if you're going to be hijacked, robbed, be in a bar somewhere or in a restaurant and be held at gunpoint. Literally, you fear for your life daily. Not only for your life, you fear for your neighbor's life. I mean, the horrendous stories that we share at campfires. And we all have tales like that. We've all been touched by crime. Everybody here in South Africa, where you had either you were a victim of it or you were an observer. It happened to a loved one, and you realize it can happen again and again. And as a result, that you are walking such a thin line daily, you have to cling to something. So, yes, we are all deeply, deeply spiritual. And I would actually love to see from heaven's side how strong Africa's light is. Because if you have to fear, because your grandparents still have stories about colonization, apartheid, wars, all of us South Africans, as a father, a grandfather, uncle who was in a war, not voluntarily like in America or Israel, where you can become a soldier if you want to. No, it was compulsory. As a matter of fact, I know plenty stories about guys that was actually arrested because they're like, that was our first awakening, I believe, as a country, was that split where people realized we are fighting a government war. This is not about a SWAPO enemy coming to attack us. This is a government control mechanism. And how we see daily still oupas, fathers, dads, husbands struggling with that inner turmoil inside of them. I killed someone. Literally, I know some of the people that I love the most in this world, that's the most gentlest people ever. Those people that you would say, he can't even hurt a fly, has got stories where he killed innocent people because he was thinking he was doing the right thing. But in any case, so as a result, either it's a church, and we don't just church. We attend Bible groups. We send our children to Sunday school. We are involved. We host bazaars and festivals and carnivals at the church. If you are an average South African, a millennial um, generation, or even older, born in 1960s, 70s, 80s, your childhood was structured around the church. Friendships were built around people that attended the same churches. That was part of who we are. In the African nations, they are more traditional. I actually think most of them are more enlightened. Because they believe in grounding and hierarchy and yeah. So we all, whether it's in an Inge Kerk or as the more conservative churches used to call the more charismatic churches, the happy clappy churches, whether you follow podcasts like this or whatever your form of connecting with God is, but we connect with God, whether it's through a worship song or a message in a church or through a beautiful video that you've seen. I strongly believe that, yes, Africa, the continent where it's the most romanticized continent. There's been movies made about us, our continent, and the rich differences. It's the continent with the most resources, but it's the continent that's been stripped, exploited, slavery the most. And I truly believe, and that's what I prayed for the Donald Trump meeting Ramaphosa today. And I started writing Cyril Ramaphosa a letter 2 o'clock Tuesday morning because I couldn't sleep because God was like, okay, we're going to play now. I was like, I'm working tomorrow and I'm not working today. I'm saying working in massive air quotes because it's not working, it's playing. So I'm not playing as an oral hygienist today. I'm just at home in my little cave. And and I was telling God, like, I'm not working on Wednesday. Can't we just have this discussion rather tomorrow night? I've got a headache. Leave me alone. Obviously, you won. And I was like typing, like, dear President, we really loved you as a leader back in COVID. We were so grateful that you were our leader and not one of your predecessors. Because for a brief moment, we thought we were really your fellow South Africans. There was glimpses when we really thought we were in this together. We really thought that maybe this can be the super glue that our nation needs, that's been prayed for us ad nauseum. Most churches just label it different. They would pray for, please eliminate corruption out of the government, or please let the bulls win. Because sometimes that unity is needed, as we've seen in Invictus. But we are all praying for a better tomorrow, aka we are praying for you as our leader. Because it would be such a blast if you can lead us in. Because the alternative is if the civilian starts standing up for their rights, we know what that can happen. And we don't want that. We just want to have fun. So that was the letter that I started writing to him. And then I started writing with a disillusionment. And then I thought, does he really need another way of conviction telling him that you are the biggest failure as an ANC president because you are the only ANC president who lost the country? And even though Zuma did commit more horrific crimes, I don't know what you guys think, but I think silence, not standing up, is actually a worse crime than actually just standing up for something, even if it is for corruption or crime. I don't know. Neglect, abandonment. Isn't that the worst kind of wound? The worst kind of trauma, I almost want to say. So back to the flash mob, because I think we're just going to end here. Let's call this the prayer for South Africa. Andre van, ek sê, it was Andre the writer that fixed Eskom. And now this choir leader, I'm rather just going to say that instead of the right word, dirigent. I don't know, director. You see, praying in tongues, that's all I'm praying for. But in any case, so in this flash mob, in an SAA airplane. Now, for international listeners, this would be like, okay, so it was not Air Yemen or Qatar Airlines, or I'm thinking about your famous one. Okay, it doesn't matter. The famous American one, but it really doesn't matter. So SAA is one of the state-owned enterprises here in South Africa. So I don't really understand the mechanics of it, but basically it's not a private company. It's it's owned by the state. So if that company makes profit, then the state gets the profit, and yes, and the state can also help. So SAA has been our most expensive company, or second expensive, I think. Eskom, our monopoly electricity provider, which is That is so Stone Age, guys. That's so communistic. Can we just wake up and smell the coffee and say, why do we only have one electricity provider? But I know that that's a very dangerous question to ask here in South Africa. Woo, we've got very alive and well mafias here in South Africa. So if you just start asking the right questions. But in any case, so SAA, South African Airways, have cost the state really like billions of dollars. At least millions. Maybe it's not billions, but millions of dollars. Because every time they go almost bankrupt, then the state will throw a lot of money towards them. And I think it's so unfair because I'm an oral hygienist, but if my dentist can't pay the bills, I can't write a Dear Johnny letter to Ramaphosa and say, give us some money. And do we really need a South African Airways? No, we don't. We've got SAF Air, which is privately owned and operated. They are a tenth of the price, and they're a millionth more reliable and better at working. Like literally, there was a stage here in our lives. It's better now, but when you had to renew your driver's license, we had to take a day off at work because you would stand in a queue for a day long. Now, I'm talking about if you're an advocate, if you're a plastic surgeon, or if you are a cleaner at work. That's the price we had to pay collectively. We are one of the most heaviest taxed countries in the world. If you make that very clever economical comparison, like if you get 1 rand, $1, and that's your income, I think about 70 cents of that $1 goes to the state. With VAT, we've got value added taxes. So everything that you buy, the state takes 15% of it because they feel like they've added value, 15% value in that transaction, which is ridiculous because the state does absolutely nothing for us. Every South African year, not every, if you can afford it, you've got your own private medical aid, which is very expensive. Like literally for me to afford a medical aid, it would be 1/6 of my salary, of my income. Then, even if you have the top-notch medical aid, they usually just pay about 70% of your medical expenses. Like there's things like self-payment gaps and things like that. Okay, so state does not provide, they do provide health services, but once again, I've just told you we had to take a day off for driver's licenses. I did say it's getting better. There's a big shift in South Africa. Like we are in a coalition now, so slowly all those very bad state SEOs are being turned around, like Eskom was turned around by Andre de Ruyter. So nowadays, we don't really have load shedding anymore. Our power is a little bit more reliable. There is still some issues where a substation would blow up. This literally happened yesterday. I was taking movies. I was like, oh, we are in the apocalyptic end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. Because as I was driving to work, there was like this huge black cloud over Pretoria. I was like, either this is apocalyptic, this is Revelation now, oh Lord, I really have a dragon and she is waking up, because I do believe we've got dragons. But more about that later. So, I was praying for weeping. That was the flash mob on the SAA. Okay, just to get back, the state gives us nothing. They used to give us roads. Nowadays, it's potholes. with the icing, with a little bit of tar around the corners, around the borders. So they literally give us like nothing. No security. Most of us have got our own security systems. It is such a joke. But we stay. Why? Because we are different than the rest of the world. We know we'll rather face these demons because every Friday night there's a braai somewhere and you get to get these hugs that will light up the whole Pretoria in the amount of love that's in that. Hello. We have these sayings where we say, yes, ons moet by mekaar uitkom. Yes, ons moet kuier. Kuier, visit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reshaped and remorphed that word visit into a trillion different meanings. If you had too much wine, it was a visit. Like literally, we are such social creatures. I find it marvelous. Okay, no, we're not going to go to the ancient structures and how we here in Africa built kraals and the rest of the world, the ancient structures was like technology, like pyramids, spool toilets, flush toilets, runways. No, what did we? We just built community. That's us. What is the universal message of Africa to the world? Ubuntu. We, South Africa, are still referenced as this perfect little experiment, human experiment of a rainbow nation. And I do believe we have it in us. If our minds and hearts are open. And that's what weeping is about. Weeping, that song is about, I knew a man who lived in fear. Because he saw this other community outside his community. And this song, Weeping, was written in apartheid's years. And we're still singing it. We're just calling it BEE now. And yes, those 4 men of Solidariteit AfriForum, I salute you because we need it to ring the bell. I am grateful that all of a sudden our voices are heard. Everybody's. No, not everybody's. More. It used to be only the ANC's voice that was heard. Now it's the ANC's voice and also a big minority of the white people. But we need to include the smaller groups as well. Where's our minorities? If we can get them on board as well and hear their voices, then we truly have Ubuntu. Or we're at least getting there. So the prayer I prayed 2 a.m. instead of writing Cyril Ramaphosa another condemning letter, because who needs it? The Holy Spirit is the only one that really condemns us. And I listened to this flash mob over and over and over again. And then my first patient said that I treated the next day after I've argued so much with God, like, can't I just fall asleep and then we can have this discussion tomorrow night? My first patient said, please will you make my smile pretty? Because I'm going to be the next brand ambassador of Emirates Airline and I need a pretty smile. I'm like, what? She's like, yes, I'm from Australia, but I live in Dubai, but I came to visit my sister here. And she said, I need to see you. You're the best dentist in the world. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not a dentist, but hello. And she really has a dazzling, dazzling, beautiful smile. There was nothing that needed to be fixed. And I was like, oh my word. I was awake the whole night with weeping about a flash mob on an airplane. So, Weeping, this song, was here's my community, here's my little Leeuwfontein estate. We don't want Mama Lodi to come closer, so we build bigger and bigger walls to keep the other one out. But what if we just see that nobody is roaring, we all just sad. We are sad. We are sad for what apartheid did to your ancestors. But I'm also sad for what BE is doing to my brothers, telling them that they're worth nothing. Men committing suicide because they can't pay the bills. Have you realized the impact that it has on us? And that's what that weeping is about. But the flash mob that they did, they were sitting, obviously planted, like one choir member, one normal passenger. So they were beautifully woven into the choreography of the plane on this very, very significant, symbolic plane. It wasn't just inside Nelson Mandela Square, Sandton City, Mainland Square, some private place with no history in it. No. Because that SAA plane for every tax-paying South African is a heart sore. We get angry. We are filled with resentment if we see that parastatals. If we see money being wasted by fat cats getting even fatter and richer. Another Range Rover, another Louis Vuitton handbag. I'm so disgusted with the brand. I got a Louis Vuitton handbag once and I gave it away. I was like, I don't want, because that's corruption labels. I'm like, no. Kry daai Satanskind uit my huis uit. So, the flash mob. With this one choir member, one normal passenger. And they started singing, weeping. We're going to listen to it just now. I'm going to play it. And we're going to sing and dance. You have to dance. Please, people. There's something earth rhythmic activating in moving your hips. Dance. Dance is one of the best healing medicines. Dance, switch on RSG as jy kos maak, sister, en swaai daai heupies. So the flash mob, they start singing, weeping, weeping, weeping. And then they merge it. And that's why I love choirs so much more, because they take two beautiful songs and make it, alchemize it into one. Nkosi Sikelel. And if you see the video, at exactly 1 minute, 37 seconds, when they start singing, when they morph from weeping to Nkosi, the sun enters that whole cabin and lights it up like an electricity rage through that cabin. And in that moment, it feels to me as if God is looking down, saying, winking, saying, I've already answered your prayers. Start walking, loving each other as if you are all my children. Start celebrating your differences, because your differences is the gift I'm giving back to the world. Africa has been exploited. But instead of turning bitter, instead of becoming like the world, we're not going to build a bigger wall between East and West. Because in that moment, God is saying, if you look down on the maps, the ancient maps, you will see that the spine of the world is in your country. It starts in the Drakensberg, in the womb, in the cavern. Then it spreads out, and if you draw a straight line from that womb up to the head, the crown of the continent, you will end at the pyramids. And if you follow that line like an Indiana Jones, you will see that God has already left us small little footprints of glory on this spine. And God wants us, South Africa, to rise up with resilience, with iron in our soul. Ons moet 'n ruggraat groei. We must stop being cowards. And not picking up arms or anything like that. No, we're going to grow in love, ladies and gentlemen, because we all have that love. If it's with a campfire, if it's with a community, ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor. And the next time when you hurt yourself, as jy jou toon stamp, as jy trip, amper oor iets, and there's a black person watching you, they give empathy, irrespectively. Or if you want to do another experiment, go for a massage with an African lady. Sy vrou vir jou asof sy omgee vir jou. There's love there, the rawest, purest kind of love. Channeled incorrectly, yes, they may get the worst kind of criminals because they still have that passion, not channeled correctly, but we can still fix that as well. We can turn it around with love. So if you draw that line of the spine of the world, you will get to Adam's calendar in Belfast. That's your next clue. You will draw that spine up and you'll get clusters of baobab trees in that spine line. If you draw that spine higher up, you'll get to the Zimbabwe ruins, ancient civilizations that just disappeared. The Adam's calendar, if you don't know, it is just as ancient and just as technologically advanced as Stone Age and the pyramids, where people are dumbfounded like, who built this? They don't know. Was it aliens? Because the equipment that the people had at that stage, the Stone Age, it's impossible for them to build these structures. The same is what I feel about the Voortrekker Monument. The genius in that place makes my hips swing. There is something sacred geometry in that place. And it's been calling me for ages. Side note, okay, just quickly side note. I wrote for Louis Liebenberg. Now, international listeners, he's the biggest swindler currently here in South Africa, and he used to swindle with diamonds. Like, that's also another Hollywood blockbuster, the whole Louis Liebenberg. And he's actually, I used to work for him, so I know him. He's actually such a sweet little boy child. His character and Donald Trump's character is exactly the same. And I love people like that as well. They're like rough around the edges, but they're so truthful. Jy weet presies waar jy staan met hulle. There's no games. There's no guile. There's no hidden agendas. There's no... Yes, they're rude and they're crude and hulle is grof en onbeskof en and en sy skoemen would smirk at them, nee. Okay, so in any case, and Louis Liebenberg used to have a media company. He was perfectly groomed for a Donald Trump, and maybe he'll do a 2.0 version, I don't know. And yes, so he started a media company to clear his name, very strategic, to say all the other newspapers are lying about me, I will tell my truth, and he called it My Truth, the truth. And this, yeah, the publication only got to print two print newspapers. Everything else was online. And the first one, the centerpiece of that the initial newspaper of this guy who's actually larger than life legacy. I wrote the centerpiece about the Voortrekker Monument. That's how in love I am with that sacred holiness. That's what I manifested for myself, just to scream basically at the world that we've got holiness in our backyard, and we are rather going to mainland Maine, weeping. So, weeping, ley lines, that's what this spinal cord is called. It's called the Nile-Loeth ley line. It's the spine of the earth. It's where all the chakras are. Pretoria, forms part of the bigger circle of the heart chakra. The more love we give to each other now, when East and West are meeting in Washington. For those of you who've missed it, Putin is breathing down fire down Donald Trump's neck, saying, hou op, jy krap die leeu se balhare. Ramaphosa is in Yankee country. America, all the countries, there's like a straight line geography of all the countries on the western coast of Africa that's bought the most ludicrous, expensive fighter pilots, airplanes, ready. Like literally, there's like a wall almost of these poverty-stricken countries that could afford this multi-billion, very expensive airplanes. Once again, if you need more information, I've got it somewhere documented. Or a very good friend of mine can just send it through to me. If she still has it, she made me see that. She sent me through that news article. And we can listen to weeping. We can dance in our cars. We can pray. And we can give out love today. Because I truly believe, like Ankie Krog said, love wins.
Standing back, he made it plain that the nightmare would never ever rise again. But the fear of fire and the guns, yes, it doesn't matter, does it? Now we